So that episode of Arrow Brothers and Sisters was very interesting. We finally got to meet Dante, and there's been quite a few reveals that I didn't actually expect to happen. So let's break this down. What's up, Vigilantes? Welcome to a brand new Arrow review. Now, this is for the episode Brothers and Sisters, episode 14, I believe. And this was a good episode. I did not expect the amount of reveals we got in the end. It did leave me feeling like, I feel like perhaps we should have got a couple of them earlier. But, you know, this definitely has restored, not that I didn't have faith, but it's given me more oomph for the back half of the season, especially with that Dante reveal and that Emiko Queen reveal. But we're not going to talk about that just yet. We've got to go through all the other stuff in the episode. But before we do, guys, subscribe to this channel. If you're brand new, you want to stay up to date with more Arrow things just like this. And of course, crush that thumbs up button, as it really does help out the channel and just, I guess, lets YouTube know that you want to see more videos just like this. So at the very beginning of the episode, we kind of had that pick up from everyone knowing already that Felicity is pregnant. But we got that throwback to the dream she was having before with Diaz kind of plaguing her mind. But now she's got a baby on the way. We heard that little baby cry in the background, so I thought that was a pretty cool way of looking at it, especially with all the stuff we knew we had to come in this episode. So if you've been staying up to date with the trailer breakdowns and the promo photos and stuff, or even the synopsis, we knew that Diggle was going to tell Oliver and Felicity about, you know, the fact that they're working with Diaz in the Ghost Initiative. And I want to talk about the Ghost Initiative straight away before anything else. I did enjoy them this episode. I enjoyed that little training scene they had at the beginning. And as predicted, Diggle wanted to tell Oliver and Felicity about the fact that Diaz is working with them. I knew how this was going to go down as kind of predictable. Felicity would be kind of triggered to begin with. Oliver would be understanding, and literally he was. He was like, I'm sure Diggle has a good reason. And I did facepalm a little bit as soon as Felicity was just texting Laurel, just like, oh, we need to finish what we started with Diaz. I was like, come on. Yeah, I know this led into some more interesting things in the episode with Laurel and Felicity, because a lot of people are enjoying those two together whenever they have scenes together, and I do as well. But it was just a bit like, really? But essentially we did get those very, you know, as we know, this Ghost Initiative like mimic the Suicide Squad, but Mark II in a way. They went on that undercover mission to find Virgil, and as it's been hinted throughout the whole season that there's been like some corruption in Argus, and as Lila put it herself, somebody must have tipped off Virgil because he knew that they were coming. And as soon as all of this kind of went south and Lila was just like, you know, I might lose my job with the Pentagon calling and stuff like that, I knew this would be like Diggle's kind of opportunity out, because as we know, there's an episode coming up called Spartan, and it's kind of obvious things are heading back towards a more original Team Arrow-esque in the Arrow Cave again kind of thing. But there's been, as I said, quite a few other unexpected twists and turns in this episode I didn't see coming, and I will return back to this storyline a little bit later. But you know, for that first part, it was setting up this very interesting story with Dante, who we were going to meet later. Now, I'd love to ask you guys a question. Do you think that the Laurel kind of redemption or like change of attitude is too quick, or do you think that they have done it correctly? I don't know. I feel like they have spent a lot of time with her walking that pathway, but I don't know, with her buying Felicity, I mean, she knew she was pregnant first of all, which is, I guess, fair enough. But when she just went out and brought her groceries, fruit, you know, prenatal things, and just, you know, it just felt a bit like, blimey, would Black Siren really act that way? I mean, I know she has been in the show for quite a while now. They have been through a lot, but I'm almost finding it a little bit too hard to believe. Not that I don't like it. I like these two having scenes together, and, you know, she was really nice to Felicity, and there was some even touching moments between them. But I don't know, it just feels a bit too in my face, or like in terms of believing that Black Siren is this really like caring character now, buying Felicity all this stuff and caring about the baby. I don't know. But of course, one of the things I was most looking forward to this episode was Emiko and Oliver. From the trailer, I definitely made out that when Oliver was out on that drug bust or whatever it looked like in the, you know, in the trailer, it looked like Emiko might have been with him, and with the episode being called Brothers and Sisters, I thought, okay, maybe they are going to get some Green Arrow and Green Arrow action out there. And this was a lot more complicated than what I first thought, and that is essentially what Oliver did, because they went out on that like bust with those criminals, and then he just wanted to take Renee and not Emiko because she's not deputized. I'm really happy that they acknowledged that, by the way, because I have been mentioning in my past couple of reviews, I was like, well, everyone is deputized apart from Emiko. What is she going to do? Like, how are they going to address that? But they literally did. But she went along anyway. She was like, I was such a fool to trust you anyway, creating a bit more drama there. But also I quite liked how Oliver put it himself, the fact that he's deputized, he can help Emiko get justice for her mother. But with the whole reveal later and her connection to Dante, it's making me think a lot more about the whole mother death. Is that linked to anything with Dante? Like, is it the fact that she joined him and has blatantly been trained by him? And we will get to this, so I shouldn't really be talking about this right now, but maybe she doesn't even know that. Maybe he might have something to do with it, but we'll have to discuss that in a minute. But one thing I did love about when Emiko went along anyway with Renee and Oliver and just turned up, that fighting and the fighting and choreography in this episode in general was really, really cool. Emiko was badass in that moment. I really love that parallel when Oliver was just arresting the guy and she was wanting to do the vigilante questioning, and it was just weird seeing Oliver just follow the law. It's just like, you're breaking the law. It was just so weird to hear Oliver say that. I almost didn't like it just because I want the vigilante days back, but I guess, you know, we're going in new directions now. But all within one episode, guys. You know, Felicity texting Laurel saying, oh, you know, we need to finish what we started and just kill Diaz. It went to the complete opposite when Oliver had been offered to go along on the second undercover thing, and he was telling Felicity, saying, you know, I've been invited along, but it's up to you. It's up to you. And she was like, okay, you can go, but I'm coming with you. Now, I don't know. I guess Laurel must have, like, persuaded her mind around things, and she has grown quite a bit in this season in terms of how much she did fear Diaz at the beginning. But it's just like they brought that back at the beginning of this episode and it was almost like gone by the end of it. And it was rightfully so as well. As I said, when Diaz was getting busted and, you know, got taken by Diggle, she did have the drop on him. And I thought, man, maybe she might shoot the gun, but they decided not to do that. And I thought this was cool for Felicity anyway. She literally did have the drop on Diaz. But this is where things really ramped up in the episode, and it left so much interesting things open for the rest of this season. For example, when they got there, they figured out the director was the informant. Before that, Diaz used a freaking defibrillator to short wire his chip, or whatever you want to call it, which is interesting. I don't know how that exactly works, but comic book logic, somehow he survived a defibrillator to the... What? But at this moment in the episode, this is literally where we got Diaz meeting Dante, Oliver meeting Dante, and then Oliver versus Dante, and then we had Felicity versus Diaz, and then quite literally, I don't know, it was just so many things going on at once, and it was just really cool. Obviously, Diaz repaid his debt to Dante by just basically fessing that this is a setup, but I really like that moment when Oliver was just like, going somewhere, are you? And that is when Dante is a badass within himself. Now, personally, I haven't seen much from this actor. I know some people out there have, but he does seem quite the part to play Dante, and his skills and everything like that are very intriguing, and I feel like this is going to set up a really cool battle between Oliver and Dante at some point this season, and not only Oliver and Dante, but it might get a lot more personal with Emiko involved as well. I found this whole part really cool. You know, as he was flying off the balcony, throwing those knives, he got away. Typical, surprise there. But as I said, it was just the right amount of tease for us to go forward. But as I said, maybe we should have learnt about him a little bit earlier, because I don't know. I suppose we have got quite a few episodes left, but I would love to leave that down to you guys. Do you agree? Did you like the way Dante was introduced, but would you have liked him to be introduced maybe around the mid-season mark? But just speaking of Dante and the wider stance anyway, he essentially, I guess you could say, is the overall season villain, because, you know, he has been teased way at the beginning with that painting in Argus in the first few episodes, and he's been seeded throughout here and there, but I just felt like they haven't done a very good job hyping him up all season. It's just like, okay, Dante, this really big dangerous guy, but I've never felt him be mega threatening until now. We see him and we see that he's this badass, and the fact that he's linked to more things than what we originally knew. Now, earlier I said I would come back to this with the whole Argus thing. Now, you know, when basically Diggle was saying he would take the fall with that whole Pentagon meeting that Lila had, and I guess somebody needs to take the blame, as soon as I heard Diggle saying like he would take the hit instead of Lila, we all know why this is. It's blatantly how Spartan is coming back, at least in my mind. Then of course, everyone, we had that sweet moment in the episode, and if you're wondering, I will get to the flashbacks towards the end of this review, when Felicity anyway reveals to Oliver that she's pregnant. This is going to be very interesting, especially with what the flash forwards teased in terms of how William didn't know he had a sister, and the fact that he was kind of sent away. It's very I kind of felt sorry for William. It's like, technically, as he put it, they didn't care about him because they never called him back, yet they were raising a daughter. And then we have to figure out what the hell happened with Oliver. There's so many pieces of the puzzle to put together. I feel like they definitely need to start addressing some things. But anyway, Diaz has gone back to Slab's side, but that is when Diaz gets murdered. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's no way he can survive being burned alive. I mean, I don't know how Diaz would literally survive burning like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they bring him back episodes and episodes later, but brought back as, you know, actually Richard Dragon. Like, obviously he's referred to as Dragon sometimes, but now, I don't know, he might come back very, I don't know, burnt version of, you know, Ricardo Diaz, but now just known as a dragon from there on out. They might be saving him. I wouldn't look into this too much. He may be dead, he might not be, but I just wanted to throw that out there for those who might just be saying, but Boba, what if he is alive? But I guess this is like a segment into, because I want to involve it at the same time when Dante reveals himself to Emiko, but they already know each other, and Emiko's just like talking about Oliver, her brother, saying, oh, he trusts me now. And I was like, oh my god, this was actually a very good twist, because I did not see this coming whatsoever. I guess there was more to Emiko, and I knew that. For example, I've been wondering how she's been getting trained. I've mentioned that a couple of times. Where did she get her training? Why is nobody talking about that? But now we know how badass Dante is and how dangerous he is. I mean, Diaz has been scared of him enough, and they've definitely emphasized that in the script. Now we have Dante essentially saying it's time for you to come home, and it's just like, oh my god, this makes quite a lot of sense now, and I think there's going to be a lot of kind of sentimentality there involved with Emiko at the same time, because I think she is starting to care for Oliver, but she's also involved with this freaking organization and Dante. It's just going to get so messy. I just don't know where this is actually going to go. Is she going to, like, is Oliver going to forgive her and just say, please, just, I don't care, just get out of Dante, and then they might move forward from there on out? Or is she just going to go like Frodo, the ring is mine, and just, you know, just say, screw you, Oliver, this has been a whole facade for me this whole time anyway, and you fell for it. I can't wait to see what they're going with there, but it also just makes a whole bunch of sense, as I said, how Emiko has been trained to be quite the badass, and I'm just guessing maybe Dante might have sent her to kill him. The only thing is it believable that Emiko would have gone all the way to Slabside to burn Ricardo Diaz without getting caught? Maybe it was somebody else in Dante's organization. I would love to know your thoughts there as well down in the comments below. Now, as for the flashbacks this episode, guys, I did quite enjoy them. Obviously, we got expanded upon the cliffhanger at the end of last episode where William's just like, oh my god, I've got a sister, and she's like, yeah, and I think Felicity's been alive this whole time. They explored that even more, but it's interesting how Dinah was just like, we all knew Oliver and Felicity, and then she kind of cut off what she said, so I'm guessing she was going to say, like, had a kid, but then she was like, but never had a daughter. So I'm wondering if she was going to say maybe like they didn't have the baby, or maybe the baby died, or maybe they faked it, but this is, I feel like, too conspiracy theory right now. Like, why wouldn't anyone know that they had a daughter unless they hid her? So I'm thinking maybe they learned from William the first time around, and that's why they didn't call William back, for example. That's why William feels a bit like, oh my god, so they raised you, but they didn't really raise me. Maybe they made the decision to keep her secret so they could maintain a relationship with Mia, but without everybody knowing about their daughter, because Oliver, more now than ever, is out in the public as the Green Arrow. Everyone knows who he is and who his family could be. So I'm thinking it must go more along those lines, which is why, as I said, they managed to keep that relationship and raise Mia in secret potentially. But then again, it is kind of a surprise that people like Dinah and Roy didn't even know about that. But we also got other stuff like Connor Hawke saying, yeah, you know, Diggle did basically tell me to keep an eye on you. You know, he's Connor Hawke's adopted father. We all basically knew this anyway. It's going to be interesting to see how that happens. Like, who is he? Is he Diggle's brother's, like, wife's kid, and maybe something happens to her and, like, he adopts? Like, maybe that's going to be happening in the next several episodes. We're going to have to wait and see. I think that must be it. They must be related by blood, but he had to take him in. I don't know. But also the other thing they kind of tackled in the flashbacks in terms of Felicity is that I believe the coroner, like, the only people who could verify Felicity's death, the person who saw it happen, is dead. Apparently killed himself, and then as well as the coroner is also dead. So it seems like it's very kind of secret. She keeps making out that her mother was very, very paranoid the whole of her life. So maybe, well, this looks like it is where Felicity is headed. I mean, we know she's got the security systems in the flat. And things are going to go onwards and upwards from there, I imagine. So, you know, the flashbacks did a good job. I feel like it's just a lot more interesting at the minute because we're getting all of these reveals. And it's setting up a good, well, from what I can tell right now, a really good, interesting back half of the season. But aside from that, everyone, that is essentially the gist of the episode. I did enjoy it. I think, as I said, I really enjoyed the reveals and the connection with Dante. How badass he is already come across, and the fact that he's involved with Emiko. What is this going to mean for everyone else in the back half of the season? It's definitely set up a lot of cool things, and this episode within itself was pretty awesome. I still, despite everything we had in this episode, it didn't feel like mind-blowing to me for some reason. I feel like a lot of people are saying this is such a really, really, really good episode. I just found it like it just felt like a normal Arrow episode, but with just pleasant, way more reveals and surprises than what we ever get in a normal episode. So that would make it better than normal, but it still felt normal to me. But like, not bad by any means. Other than that, guys, though, leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Definitely let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I love to read everything you guys have to say, and I would love to know all your theories, because I asked you guys quite a lot of questions in this video, because there's a lot to be answered that's left to be answered with this season. But aside from that, all I want to say is thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Vigilantes in the next video. Goodbye.